Okay, so we are back working on our Fiat Spider. Today we are going to have a small break with the bodywork as I have ran out all CO2 gas. Unfortunately, I cannot refill the bottle because everything is closed due to coronavirus, but that is fully understandable. But we are not missing our time. There are still some mechanical things to do before painting, and today we will focus on steering columns and the front suspension. I'm gonna show you what it's all about. I would like to deinstall all the steering elements just to be sure that before painting, during painting, the paint will go all over the place where it should go. So we need to throw that out, we need to check if they are okay and refurbish them as well. I also don't like a situation in here. I see there are some amateur work. This place look definitely better than this one, and I just want to check what is going on. So we will deinstall entire front suspension. We will deinstall it and install it back again, because we will need it to transport the car to the paint shop. So that's pretty much the target for today. We will unbolt some screws and work with the basic tools. So let's get started. We will start from these little fillers, then we will then install that one, and then I'm gonna show you how to deal with the springs, as this might be quite tricky, this might be quite dangerous, and it is worth to do it in a safe way. Stay tuned. So it's good to have these to remove all those joints and bolts and so on. Such kind of, I don't know how much that would cost, but probably somehow around 20-25 bucks. I have won it in the car contest. Our Okay, so what we are trying to do is to deinstall the lower swing bar, just to make sure that entire support frame will be possible to deinstall. And the tricky thing is always the spring. Please remember, don't just unbolt it and don't try to use a wire to hold it right. It will not hold, and it is really important to do it right. So you need to have a special equipment to hold the spring, and because there is a lot of tension, a lot of pressure accumulating there. So what I have done right now, I have used a jackhammer, jack lift to not jackhammer, the lift to hold a little bit lower swing arm, because when I will be deinstalling the shock, just to make sure that the spring will not go off and push it down quite violently. I strongly hope it will hold, because I have noticed one thing, that right now the chassis without the engine and without all the equipment is extremely light, and I'm afraid that the jack will not hold the spring tension. So right now, when I will deinstall the shock, I'm afraid that entire body will go up. It's a kind of risky thing. We will see how it will end. I will try to do it carefully, because flying spring can break your arm, can smash your face, can even kill you. So be really careful with deinstalling these. We'll see. Hope I will survive this in one piece. Okay, so the shock and the spring is already deinstalled. As usual, it took me around 300% time that I calculated in the first place. So everything is standard during such project like these. What was the biggest problem? The biggest problem was spring the installment. I had these for MacPherson's. Obviously they don't fit, but it was not a surprising for me. It was a surprising for me that I have another one that is dedicated for such kind of suspension, but obviously it was too wide. And this is the reason why I could not fit into the spring and install it in the proper way. It was a lot of tension in there, so I have modified it a little bit. I strongly don't recommend such kind of ideas. I was afraid that this piece of metal would not hold on, even if it is a thick metal, and the construction, the shape of it, reinforce it additionally. Thankfully it held. And right now we don't have any more spring and shock in there. Right now we've gotten access to those bolts and that bolt that will help us to remove entire supporting frame, just to make sure that everything is in a correct order. Why I am doing that? Unfortunately, I don't have that comfort to have a transportation frame, so it means that entire suspension need to stay for painting. It means that in all places where suspension is touching the frame, touching the body, you might have a situation like in here. So you can see we've got cleaned that up all over the place, all around, but because there was a part assembling here, we've got a beautiful rust. So right now I will make sure that all the pieces, all the places where we've got similar situation will be cleaned, and at least I will put anti-corrosion prime, standard prime, and epoxy. And then I will assemble everything back just to send it to the painting shop. So as we can see in here, definitely the spacer is missing. This is the reason why this bolt looks quite suspicious. On the other side we've got definitely better solution. There is a spacer and it looks like much more solid to me. So this is the reason why I want to put all the extra effort to make sure that there are no micro damages in there, because it will be quite devastating to see some frame defects after it will be painted. So that's the long story short why I am doing that. I was hoping to do both sides today. Unfortunately, we nearly end up one side. I also lost my fight with these. I was hitting my hammer, I was using all those equipment in there, but apparently they were not good enough. Probably I will search for some special tool to deinstall it. Hope it will be relatively cheap, because as you remember, I'm using only supermarket and low quality tools, except my welder. So that's the long story short about the suspension. Next time we will work with another side. This time I just want to remove the steering elements just to make sure that the frame is solid underneath them. So that's pretty much it, but I have found also a nice delete material about fixing the small holes in on that side, and I will put it into this material as well. I will say that this will be a kind of tutorial for small hole fixing. So that's it. Funny thing is that in Fiat you can deinstall the rocker panel. They are simply bolted, so it is quite easy to deinstall them. And that piece of body is really important, so it needs to be kept in the perfect condition, because this is the main part that is holding entire chassis together while it's convertible. Thankfully, my Fiat was heavily corroded, but in the most important parts, like those reinforcements, it was perfectly healthy car. We've got only one small issue in here. I have a small inspection camera. I looked into the rocker panel. They are really incredibly healthy inside. So this is only a small piece that I wish to fix before we will install the panels. Naturally, such a small hole will not create any massive damage, but we need to be sure that the car is perfectly in a perfect condition, and fixing that as that small piece of metal is no challenge, even for the beginners. So this is the reason why we will put a small metal piece in here, just to make sure that it will be perfect. Okay, so I have a piece of metal that I will use to fix that one. It's really important to remember that whenever we've got already that kind of hole, it means that it is quite heavily corroded from the other side, but a little bit wide, wider than 1 or 2 millimeters from the hole. So usually I am making a little bit bigger piece, just to make sure that we will eliminate as much rust as possible. So in this case I will Okay, so that's the final result. As you can see, it's barely visible that someone was. Again, I could grind that a little bit more, but the place is not visible, so I will just leave it that way. Okay, so as you can see, this is the reason why we have decided to remove all the steering system. This side is especially important because there is also a braking system installed at this side in European version and a US version. And as you may know, the braking fluid creates a lot of corrosion. So during the refueling, there might be some drops, and this is the reason why this side of the engine bay is usually more corroded. And this is the reason why it is really important to install everything just to fix that kind of rust. Right now, it's nothing serious, but if we will disregard that, maybe within a few years, it will create massive holes, and that might be a nice issue. So this is the reason why we will do it right. We will clean that up and protect it from the rust. The same story goes for another side, but that's another story. I have also seen the shock. This is a Kayaba, Japan, made in Japan. And this is a gas shock, probably 100%. This is not a standard, this is not an original part. It was already replaced at least once, as we can see, but someone has put it decent quality part. We will try to find something new like that. So some elements works from the Polish Fiat and Polish Polonez, and those cars were manufactured based on Italian license. So this is the reason why a lot of parts are adjustable, and a lot of parts can be used for such kind of restoration. But we will see also because of the quality, not only because of the price. So thank you very much for today, and stay tuned for the next time.